drilled it expecting to get more, 1.5% nickel type thing, which would be fine, which would be great. You get a lot of happy people finding a 1.5% nickel. Nonetheless, what we found was something completely different. We found our discovery hole was almost 8 meters of what was about 1 ounce PGMs, 1.5% copper, and it was 60 meters from surface. So it was quite a surprise, and obviously a happy surprise. We hit some amazing holes, really, each one sort of better than the next. We had, I don't know, at least, 5 or 6 holes of 10 meters or 10% copper equivalent or better, some over 20%. Unheard of holes, really, anywhere in the world, in the history of the world. So that's how good it was. And, so that, made us really sort of rethink what we had here.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Great to see you all here. 2025, a year for gold and silver, like the last few have been, last many years have been. We don't see any change. Gold still remains the hedge against inflation. It's a safe haven. We're still going through massive shifts, massive changes, whether your outlook is, hey, we've hit the worst and things are getting positive, or you think, well, we still have a lot of problems ahead. Gold and silver are going to play critical roles still moving forward. And, I feel very high conviction rates myself and others. I mean, certainly not just me. We did see, before we get into the thick of things, Goldman Sachs did revise their number a little bit further down. I believe they've got a number of 2,910 for the year. They don't expect it. They'd wanted to see 3,000 for 2025, but they're saying mid 2026 should be about 3,000. We're sitting at, I think, 2649 right now. But even 3,000 mid 20, I mean, this is gold. That's a great return. Now, of course, you can go on the other side of the spectrum, and there's someone like a Peter Schiff who will say, if we pegged the US dollar to gold as it had been back, in 1972, before we switched off the system, gold would have to be somewhere, I believe he said, around 80,000. So somewhere in between there, the truth lies. I don't think we're ever going back to any kind of gold standard or anything of that nature. There's been no indication that that would be the case. But we've talked about before, the Trump, administration is very cognizant of all these critical metals. I mean, that's becoming very clear very quickly. And he has a very solid ear to and near and dear to his heart that is a fan of the idea of gold being playing a much more predominant role. And you don't need to look any further than what's happening in the crypto space with the volatility there. The risk to reward is not comparable. It's not even remotely. I know that there's always want to make this near-term comparison between virtual mining or digital gold and precious metals or actual commodities that we actually need to make everything. And I mean, it's a nice illustration, I suppose, and maybe it's the closest comparison one could make, but there really isn't as far as a risk-adjusted return. There isn't at all. And I'm someone who says, hey, have some space for some crypto if you like and you find that interesting. Fintech is very exciting. We're going to have a digital dollar. Like there's going to be lots of changes and lots of movement in that space, just as much as any. But when you're talking about a risk to reward, most people who have portfolios who aren't terribly, who have very limited speculative capital, should they be chasing after these meme coins? I don't think so. Now, I think our FARC coin is down significantly over the past five or 6 days. And maybe that's signaling the end to that one, and they'll hop on to the next one. This is usually how these types of, I won't name them just so I don't get in trouble, but these types of projects operate. So in any event, it wasn't that I was just picking on that one specifically. I happened to see it. It was so ridiculous. It shot up through the roof. And it's a reflection of our times that we have these types of things, and that these things are allowed to exist. But we want to deal with reality, and that's always it's fun to look at pie in the sky stuff. It's really enjoyable, but gold is reality, and I know that people like to have that philosophical discussion. Well, why can't it be just like gold? I mean, it's just perception. It isn't. There is some analogies or illustrations or comparisons, but it isn't. We've got 6,000 years worth of data regarding gold. Never mind that if you wanted to break it down to this most basic, most like just silly and basic attribute is humans are fascinated by gold. It might be in vogue or out of vogue any period of time, but we love it as jewelry. People like to wear it. You don't wear virtual things. It's not beautiful. Gold is. Is it a shiny rock? Yes. Humans like shiny rocks. We do. We always do. Will that change when we go more into a virtual world? No. Unless they're planning on living in that virtual world forever, we're still going to interact. We're still human beings. So I'm more and more certain on the as I venture forth again. We always kind of pick into that world of the crypto stuff. Your risk reward ratio over here in the physical side is so much stronger. And if you want to talk then about junior exploration companies, your upside asymmetric potential is just the same. When juniors they go and they move significantly and very well. And we've seen that already. I mean, with Power Nickel has had a great start to the year, as we mentioned before. First Phosphate, which we really like, has also had an exceptional last 5 or 6 days, up I think something like 65%, and it's because they have significant catalysts. They've done significant work, and it isn't just hearsay or hey, we think XYZ is going to use this coin, or it's going to be this, or it's a meme, or whatever. It's critical metals. It's significant things that we need that are going to help us achieve all the goals that are required, whether it's in AI, whether it's in robotics, whether it's in designing chips, kind of harping on the same things over and over. But that all comes from a strong foundation, and that foundation includes gold. And that we feel quite strong that yes, it'll have volatility. It might be pulled back some days and whatnot, but overall, the year looks strong for both gold and silver. We always like to throw in silver there as well because it has, I think in theory, a bigger upside this year than gold. And certainly if we attempt to do any of the solar initiatives that people would like to do, it will require massive amounts of silver. I know with the new administration coming in, and certainly with the failure of the Liberal government and resignation of Justin, we have a lot of chaos here right now. I would say not that much. He wasn't very directing too much other than social causes for the most part. We need to have an election, and we need to have some direction here as soon as possible. That all adds to the uncertainty of, well, what's the year ahead look like? I mean, we're sitting at day one of the year ahead, and we're getting a glimpse of as to some of the trolling and some of the ideas that are coming from our friends to the south, what some of their ideas they're floating around out there are. But that's just causing more tension and more uncertainty. I don't want to comment too much on that because you're dealing with personality rather than anything evidence-based. But I would say my gut feeling as far as the level of throwing hyperbole out there is that it's more trolling on the part of Trump with the idea of we're going to annex Canada or we're going to. Now they might take Greenland. I mean, that's possible. And Panama Canal. Those ones actually, I think, are theoretically possible or maybe even worth a discussion if the U.S. decides that, yes, there is a credible threat from China and Russia, and that holds things up significantly. There would be, I would hearken to say, merit to that. I don't think there's any towards Canada There's no doubt that the administration down there doesn't want the liberals in power, simply because, as Pierre Poilievre has pointed out, they've put every roadblock in place and every regulatory permitting obstacle in place of business to get anything done. And that doesn't bode well. And most Canadians would like to see, a better future and an open business, and to encourage young people that they should be entrepreneurs and that there's a future for them. And that once again is something that we want to focus on here, because regardless of what you think the year ahead holds, there's a lot of work to be done. And we'd love to see your thoughts on where you think gold itself will be. I know silver has pulled back under $30 here today. Where you think it will end up at the end of the year? We're very bullish. I mean, and once again, we don't look at these things on a daily basis. I don't trade, so I mean, other than interest once in a while to look at the price, I'm not in it to trade these things. These are our investments. They're long-time holds, just like the companies that we like or that we work with or that we invest in. We're in them not to make 10, 20, 30% and then exit. That's not our strategy. Our strategy is we find companies that have strong projects, strong management, excellent thesis, and they're hitting metrics and milestones. They're doing what they said they're going to do. We'll get into it a bit more in our blog in regards to First Phosphate, because they are a great example of a company that started off strong, pulled back huge, but they were hitting every metric, doing everything they're going to say they would do on time, and largely ignored. And we'll explain as to why we think that is, and also why people are tentative moving forward, and rightfully so, when they see any kind of battery play or green or lithium or any of these battery energy metals, because they think, oh boy, the new administrations are completely against any of that, which is untrue. That's not true at all. They're actually all for it. I remind people that the PayPal mafia and Elon Musk, they're part of the team that's down south the border. They all want these same things as well. They just want a smooth transition. They want to use cheap energy in the meantime. There's no sense in not using it in the meantime while you're transitioning. There's a large time gap between employing all these strategies that needs to be filled. And that's just project management. And that's just smart business. And perhaps that was the failure with a lot of these more extreme leftist ideologists, is that they didn't understand how to implement a transition period. Whatever the excuse is, whatever the reason is, it has been a failure in that sense. And we need someone to have a strong business plan and a good market in order to achieve these things. I'm going to remind people that we will have on Kobe Kushner and Chris Williamson from Adamus Intelligence here at the end of the month. And that'll be a focus on lithium. And once again, I think that's going to be very interesting because, lithium has a bit of a tough road ahead this year. There's lots of exciting things happening with Thacker Pass and whatnot moving forward. There's lots of great developments. There's developments on the DLE front, but lithium, it's going to have a struggle because the vast majority of lithium is produced in China. And they're not just going to willy-nilly let go of control. No country would. I mean, I don't fault them for it. Why would you? We are in a trade battle, and a pronounced one now with Trump in charge, that has made everyone shaky. And I don't, though. I feel exceptionally optimistic. Hearing the Kevin O'Leary types. Even I don't agree with the length at which they would like to see an agreement or partnership with the U.S. go. We see a very open willingness from a lot of mining companies, a lot of material companies and metals, exploration companies who say, yeah, we would be thrilled in order to sell our product, our minerals, to U.S. companies that need to use these. It would be even more exciting if Canada had really ignited its technological power and intelligence to encourage young people and mobilize them in the likes of Waterloo to say, listen, get out there, start, be entrepreneurial, start businesses. We're going to help fund you. And guess what? Could Canada have a lithium iron phosphate battery plant of their very own? I can't see. Why not? Why can't we? There's many things that we've got enough bright minds and a lot of bodies that want work, and they want real jobs with real work. So leave me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. I mentioned all of this because when we're looking at gold, we have to look at the entire, time frame or metrics involved. And one of the key things that has been driving gold has been central banks' purchases of gold. And we've seen the last 2 months ending December, China had jumped back in the market and have been purchasing more. That is, once again, a very interesting signal. If one was to look at where they decided to stop and where they started to enter again, that might give us a hint where they think the floor is or what they think the worth is, which is also an interesting consideration moving forward. We always like to bring up, well, what's the opportunity right there? And we have companies that we like, that we think that are either producing or near-term production or exploration. And we have that on our blog site. We encourage you to go take a look at it, do a little work yourself. And we're happy to share how and why we figured that out, why we like it. We always go with, just to be safe and to be sensible, is if you're new, go look at Sprott. That's kind of a go-to. If it's a safe base for excellence in this space, especially technical ability, knowledge, a very long track record. That's your best bet if you're new and you want to look at, say, a gold ETF, or if you want to look at even a basket of producers or exploration companies. They are a great place to start. And that's, certainly we wouldn't suggest anyone to go buy or not buy something. That's not our job. I'm not a licensed professional any longer. All of my licenses have long gone past. What we are happy to share what I'm personally buying because of my own risk threshold. These are things that we don't take lightly as well, because that falls into that kind of thing we've been talking about regulation. It's important to have regulations in place and people who are sharing information. You could like what I have to say or strongly dislike. I'm happy either way. We love the conversation and the banter back and forth. But I don't know. No one's my client. I couldn't possibly tell someone who just happens to watch my stuff and maybe has done really well on stocks that we've had guests on. You have to find out what your risk tolerance is, where you are in life, what your goals are, all of those things. That's not just a regulation just for the annoyance of being a regulation. That's just an ethical and moral thing to do. People need to know why they're putting money towards things, the risk that, the speculative nature of certainly exploration compared to buying just gold or buying bullion itself compared to an ETF. And that's where a lot of education is needed. A broker, a financial planner, anyone else that can help guide you along your personal plan. It isn't just like a throw out, kind of token gesture when I say that. It's critical that someone has that. You have to have a plan and follow that plan. And it's just, your plan moving forward over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever length towards retirement or whatever your goal is just the same as the model that you'd use for your portfolio. And it falls back to the market mindset. We have a model that we use that we like and we stick to it. We have metrics that we want companies to meet. And that's the same things that we apply to our own portfolios when we look at our own risk and risk-adjusted rates of return. All of that might seem redundant to a lot of you who've been in the space for a long time, but we're always trying to reach out to new people and get them excited and encourage them to get involved in this space. More than most of you who have been in it for decades, and you know a lot of this stuff. I mean, you might like the content, you might like my perspective or dislike it. We're always trying to reach new people and show them that it's not that difficult to get in here and to get into the mining space. It might seem a little bit intimidating or overwhelming at first, but it is not even remotely as intimidating as if you're buying NVIDIA. Or if you're buying any crypto, or if you're buying any robotics company, or any big pharma company. if you held the same standard, then you'd have to understand the engineering of how to make a microchip, or you'd have to understand the nature of how to engineer a robot and whether it was happening or not. Most people don't have that expertise. They buy for other reasons. And I would suggest to people that the mining space is no different. It's not intimidating. And there's so much opportunity, once again, because it's unloved, but it's critical and it's necessary. And I think that we're going to see, it's not tomorrow, but we're going to see over the course of the year, plans take shape between the US and between Canada that will be positive for the market in regards to the mining sector and natural resources. That's energy as well. I mean, what we've talked about before, Alberta looks like it's going to have a lot of upside here. That energy sector, we're going to spend a bit more time on it because the US has made it clear that the cost that they've had to pay on restricting energy has been far too high. And that gets into an entire political agenda that was, entailed with the climate agenda and everything as well. Love to see your perspective, why you think it's right, wrong, indifferent, whatever it happens to be. I just think that there's a very clear signal that energy is going to be a major role for the next couple of years. And there's an opportunity there for people. And once again, if you're really interested in that discussion, there's plenty of resources about energy and about different perspectives from PhDs and scientists in regards to how good we've done in the West as far as emissions compared to other countries, the positive steps that we've taken, but also what that role towards maybe phasing some things out or relying more on solar or more on hydro where we can, or certainly more on nuclear. But these are not short-term projects. I mean, to start up a facility that's even already there, like Constellation's doing, and all of these SMRs, these aren't fast projects. They take time, and that means, once again, a transition. And we're going to see a lot of that, and that's why we're excited, because I think we're going to see a proper, actual transition and a basket of energy that includes all the critical metals and all of the mining. And once again, gold is going to play a key role in that. It just is. And I'm of the perspective that it doesn't have to be either or when it comes to all the crypto and all that other stuff. Buy some. It's just that know that you're buying a speculative product. You're not buying gold. It isn't. And as much as they want to make a comparison to it, it just simply isn't. And I always like to remind people, I'm not a gold bug. It might seem like I am. Certainly, I've the last 8 years have been much more interested in it, simply because of the same reasoning that people like all the crypto stuff, is the printing of money, the debt crisis, the level of unaffordability, all of these issues that we all agree on that exist. I just see that the reality is that there is a long-term metrics and market for precious metals and for mining than there is of the nuance of trying to determine which digital platform or fintech software will somehow interact with the US dollar in what way, shape, or form. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Which one will win? I don't know. I would rather bet on what makes all of these hardware possibilities possible. What would help the data storage to enable that? What's that take? Well, it takes a lot of energy. Okay. Well, I prefer to move away from the tech expertise and roll the dice to understand, I think this platform is going to win. I don't know. I'm not a software engineer. I could spend the rest of my life attempting to analyze every single fintech and digital platform and cross-border currency, and I'm still not going to have any strong thought on which one is going to win. But hey, listen, we want people to be excited and encouraged and knowledgeable. So look at it all. Look at it all. I just get a bit of an annoyance factor whenever there's comparisons that are made that are not just, or that are simply, let's just say, overly promotional. And we try, especially in the junior market, there's a very strong community of people that make sure that they're not promotional or overly promotional because of the harm that it does and the fact that people can lose money or be led astray. And it's, if we want to have a chance to do things correctly and garner the attention of the people and show them that we do things responsibly as far as the environment goes, but we do things ethically as far as doing what's best for shareholders. And that's critical. We have a chance right now with all this changes happening, whether you're a junior gold company or whether you're a producing gold company, to really highlight our strengths. And I think this is a critical time for us, because if we get it right, and if we have the right people in place to make deals with the likes of our trading partner down south in the US, and clear a pathway of quick permitting and quick implementation of plans, then we have a very, very bright future. I'll just, because I don't want to keep on talking forever today, I'm going to talk a little bit about permitting. Now, once again, we have an article that we're just finishing up here because we saw on mining.com there was a paper put out by a couple professors at Simon Fraser University making the claim. It was about, does regulation delay mining? And this was a government-funded, federal government-funded project that they did, where they made the claim that no, it isn't permitting that causes the problems for mines. It's actually economics and mining companies themselves. So there's been a quick rebuttal by, I think, AME acknowledging that their issues with the paper. I am going to break it up into two parts. Our first part was very simple to kind of put aside their theory and their metrics for deciding how they came upon this idea that permitting is an issue. And it wasn't very tough because they only picked a handful of current mining projects. They didn't consider any exploration permitting. So there's things like that. Never mind, where'd you get your money? Well, we got our money from a federal grant. And we're using a lot of the federal government information to base our research off of as well. There was one group that was a great group that had put out some data that we acknowledge in there as well. But it really, I was able to break it into two things. One of just right off the bat, it didn't hold a lot of weight. The people involved had very extreme left causes that they supported, and where they were getting their data, where they're getting their funding, and the fact that they left out so much data as far as permitting. I thought I'd just leave it at that point, would be phase one. And if people showed a lot of interest, I'd be happy to go into the actual data to look at the projects they chose, because we all know that the biggest impediment that we have in any extraction is permitting. It's the government. It's the government, and it's in the NGOs. It's the lobbyists. They can withhold and stop projects at the drop of a hat. And I wish it was because they wanted the best for the environment or this or that. But often it isn't. They've got economic goals a lot of times. And we need something to be done with that, because once again, there's an opportunity for everyone in the mining sector to show, here's what we're doing. We follow ESG. We have bonds on the land for reclamation. I mean, all the things are done. We hit every single regulation, every scientific report, every water report, it's all done. This idea that it's just like loosey-goosey is absurd. And we need to have a federal mandate across the board. Boom. Easy to permit, easy to get done, and easy to deliver all these critical metals, especially as the political turmoil out there is going to ramp up. I don't expect to see Russia or China all of a sudden not having grievances, not having issues, and also being fine with the West wanting to have control over their own destiny as far as energy. They didn't work this hard to really get a stranglehold on all the critical metals for no reason, just to hand them over again. So interesting times ahead. We are under no illusions that there's going to be challenges ahead, but I really feel that we're close to getting the right people in place in order to make a lot of these key obstacles go away or be improved upon, and that gives people a lot of incentive. And it's if people see that Canada is a place to invest, that they're open to business, and that they want to develop all the wealth that they have stored in the ground, then that will be a positive thing. Anyways, everyone, I'd love to hear your feedback. Tell me what you think gold and silver are going to do. We always consider that to be the bedrock, that foundation upon which to grow upon. Unfortunately, Canada doesn't have a lot of gold as far as the government's concerned, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't. I would say there's lots of times one shouldn't follow the lead of a government, and this would be one of them. Fiscal responsibility, having some common sense, having some good, strong, risk-adjusted portfolios. That's what's needed. We even see the likes of JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley hinting, as well as Goldman Sachs, that you should be looking to diversify your portfolios a little bit this year. They're expecting a bigger, stronger IPO market. They're expecting to see earnings in other companies actually start to improve. And that's what we want to see. If it's all stuck in that basket of 7 stocks of the Magnificent Seven, that also is not a good or healthy thing. That, I would argue, is not a strong economy. If it's just that 20% of your market is 7 companies that are driving everything, that is exceptionally fragile. In any event, we don't want to be fragile. As Nassim Taleb says, you want to be anti-fragile, and we want to be active, and we want to stay vigilant, stay frosty, stay up to date on news, and start building positions right now, because I think right now is a huge opportunity. All right, everyone, enjoy your week. We'll see you on Friday. We appreciate all of your messages and your emails, and any topics that also you've got a burning desire for. We look forward to having them as well. On the 15th, we will have, so next week, we will have Dr. Quinton Henning on again, and he's going to talk about Goliath, as they put out some big numbers and some great results the other day. And he's going to walk through it with us and explain it to us. And I can't think of anyone better to walk through that case study than himself. Everyone, take care. We'll talk to you real soon.
We drilled it expecting to get more, 1.5% nickel type thing, which would be fine, which would be great. you get a lot of happy people finding a 1.5% nickel. Nonetheless, what we found was something quite completely different. We found our discovery hole was almost 8 meters of what was about 1 ounce PGMs, 1.5% copper, and it was 60 meters from surface. So it was quite a surprise, and obviously a happy surprise. We hit some amazing holes, really, each one sort of better than the next. We had, I don't know, at least, 5 or 6 holes of 10 meters or 10% copper equivalent or better, some over 20%. Unheard of holes, really, anywhere in the world, in the history of the world. So that's how good it was. And, so that, made us really sort of rethink what we had here.